We're on 4.8, analyzing the graphs of polynomial functions. This is the fourth and final video, and we're going to determine whether each function is even, odd, or neither. So we're going to start with some vocabulary. We need to talk about what even and odd mean, and we did address these in chapter 1, but only briefly and only for a couple of functions. So an even function mathematically is when f of negative x equals f of x. So everywhere you have an x in your function, if you were to make the x negative, it would come out still equal to the original function. And for all x in its domain, okay, then the graph of an even function is symmetric about the y-axis, which basically means if you have a graph and you were to fold it across the y-axis, it's going to be the same on both sides. Odd function is when f of negative x equals a negative f of x for all x in its domain. The graph of an odd function is symmetric about the origin. So one way to recognize a graph that is symmetric about the origin is that it looks the same after a 180-degree rotation about the origin. All right, our core concepts. So if I'm just looking at even function here, if you look, if I were to fold it across the y-axis, these are the same on both sides. It's like a mirror. It's mirrored over, okay? So that is the same for an even function. If x comma y is on the graph, then you know negative x comma y is also on the graph. For an odd function, we talked about in the definition how it looks like if it's rotated 180 degrees. So if I take this graph and we rotate it about the origin, so I'm just going to spin it upside down, it looks the exact same. Spin it back. That graph still looks the same. Okay? That makes something an odd function. So, an odd function, if x comma y is on the graph, then negative x, negative y is also on the graph. So let's try this for number 7. We need to know what this looks like. So I'm just going to graph it on my calculator. And graph it. All right, I need to zoom out so I can see everything. And this, if I were to rotate it about the origin, it's the same. It's not reflected because it's not the same on the left side as is the right. It should be a mirror of each other. So this is an odd function. All right, let's try number 8. I'm going to enter it in my calculator. X to the 4th plus x squared minus 7. Let's just look at the graph. Okay, so here's my graph. Let's first try to see if it's even. If I were to reflect it over that y-axis, fold it in half, both sides are on top of one another. So this is an even function. So now let's look at number 9 in the notes. Type it in your calculator and graph it. Okay, now it's not even. I can't reflect it over that y-axis. It's not symmetric. If I were to spin it at the origin, which, let me zoom in here so you can see it a little better. If I turn my calculator right here at where that blinking dot is, it is not the same. If I turn my calculator upside down, that does not look the same. This curve was at the top before. Okay, it went from the top to the bottom when I turned it. So this isn't even because it's not symmetric, and it's not odd because I can't rotate it 180 degrees and it stay the same. So that's going to be neither. Now you can go to your practice and do numbers 39 through 44 and submit your assignment.